Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into a really interesting paper called Dialogue Open to Change, Using Defeat and Indifference.
Yeah, it's fascinating. This deep dive looks at why our conversations, the everyday ones, especially when we strongly disagree or someone just says, it's up to each person, why they often just fizzle out. They don't lead to real understanding or, personal growth.
Exactly. And our mission today is to show you how even those tricky conversations, the ones that feel like hitting a wall, can actually become surprisingly pathways to changing how you see things and getting a much richer understanding of where someone else is coming from.
So the paper starts with this idea of worldviews. It's kind of like the hidden rules of the game you're playing in life. They shape everything, how you see facts, how you react, but you're often not even aware of them.
Okay, right. Like that Abema Prime debate with Hiroyuki Nishimura and Tomoko Deguchi. I remember that. Deguchi was saying Japan is provoking China, and to a lot of people, that just sounded, illogical. But the source here says, look, it's maybe not about who's right. It could be they were just playing by completely different rule books, different worldviews, so what seems inconsistent to you
might be perfectly consistent within their rules. Like, you think you're playing checkers, they think they're playing chess, but on the same board. Total misinterpretation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that kind of leads into this next bit, this trap called static superiority. Saying things like, oh, it's all relative, or just tuning out opinions you don't like.
Like you're being tolerant.
Exactly. It seems tolerant, but the paper argues it can actually reinforce your own view. It creates this sort of static superiority where your worldview just stays put, unchallenged. You stop really listening and definitely stop thinking about changing yourself.
I definitely know that feeling where a conversation just stops. Like, thinking about that veganism discussion with Lele Imai from PETA Asia against Atsushi Tamura and Toshina Sasaki. When Tamura was like, I don't want to be taught, or saying her activism wasn't good, the paper suggests he was kind of subtly putting his own worldview first.
Protecting his rules.
Yeah, protecting his rules, keeping the conversation on his turf.
Yeah.
And that blocked any chance for what the paper calls worldview confirmation, any real deep dive into why they disagreed.
So then, interestingly, the paper takes this concept of defeat, or renpa, that Japanese term for really winning an argument, sometimes quite forcefully.
Yeah, it often has a negative feel, like just tearing someone down.
Right. But the paper suggests there's maybe a hidden curiosity in it sometimes. It frames it more like reverse engineering.
Reverse engineering, how so?
Well, like trying to figure out how an unknown system works. You're probing it, testing it, not necessarily to judge it, but just to understand its mechanics.
Okay, I see. So Nishimura's style, throwing out those extreme questions, like asking Doguchi about protesting at her parents' funeral, it wasn't just to win, according to this source. It was a way to poke at her underlying system, her model, her rules, to see why she responds in ways that seem, illogical from his perspective.
Exactly. It's trying to map out that hidden logic. And the source also mentions, just to be clear, we're reporting its analysis here, that some political figures, like maybe Shinji Ishimaru or Junya Ogawa, can be tricky to reverse engineer because they maintain a very consistent surface. It makes it hard to see the deeper worldview underneath.
Okay, so it's less about attack, more about investigation, like trying to understand the blueprint of their thinking.
Precisely. And that leads to the real core idea, embracing what the paper calls dynamic superiority of worldview.
Dynamic superiority.
Okay.
What's that?
It's using that natural human desire for your own worldview to be kinda, good, or effective, or superior. But instead of defending it statically, you make it dynamic.
Meaning
you actively expand it by genuinely trying to understand and even integrate parts of other people's perspectives. You're constantly refining and growing your own rules.
Okay. So that's where the intellectual and playful pleasure of the reverse engineering comes in. You treat the other worldview like a fascinating puzzle, a black box to figure out, not something to just shoot down.
Exactly. And by doing that, you enrich your own understanding. It's not just about being nice or open-minded, though that's part of it. It's actually strategic. You spot weaknesses or gaps in your own thinking.
Right, like maybe understanding Doguchi's perspective, even if you disagree, could show you where the sort of mainstream view relies too much on, say, official diplomatic language and misses something else.
Perfect example. This dynamic superiority doesn't just replace your old views. It builds on them, makes your whole framework stronger, more flexible. The paper even suggests it could help soften really rigid beliefs, like maybe conspiracy theories, by demanding a fuller, more complex picture.
So, okay, wrapping up. The next time you bump into an opinion that just seems way out there, or you're in a conversation that feels completely stalled, think about this dynamic superiority.
Yeah, lean into that curiosity, that little almost programmer-like buzz you get from figuring something complex out. Try to understand the system, the different game rules someone else is operating by. You can turn that frustration into a real chance to, well, grow your own mind and understand people better.
So here's something to think about. What illogical or maybe just really unconventional viewpoint could you try to reverse engineer next? Not to win, not to debunk it, but just to see if understanding its rules adds something valuable to the richness of your own perspective.